Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're so glad to welcome you as part of our community tonight. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and distributed live stream. By entering this virtual meeting room, you give your consent to be recorded and distributed by Vienna Live with Sivan Moore and other third parties. If you prefer to not be recorded, please go to the LinkedIn live video feed, the link to which I've placed in the chat room. Tonight, our featured guest is singer-songwriter Sivan Arbel, whose new album, Oneness, will be the subject of tonight's conversation.
Where is the border? Where is one's land? Who are we following and for what? Following is easy when we're fearing. Living life in terror is easy when all is gone and the only one standing is you.
Welcome, Sivan.
Thank you. Hi, everybody.
So, Sivan, tell us a little bit about where you come from, how your musical tastes were formed, and why you decided to become a professional singer-songwriter.
I'm gonna try to make it as brief as possible, but I'm originally from Israel, and I grew up there, and my first musical love was Britney Spears in MTV, which I don't think you would have expected that. But that just drew me into studying music and dance because I love dancing and I love moving, and body awareness is always part of my journey as well. And when I was in high school, my teacher, fast forward basically high school, my teacher basically introduced me to Ella Fitzgerald, and I just fell in love with her scatting, with her vibe, like that just beautiful energy that she resonates when she sings. And that was the beginning of where I am today. I just wanted to study about improvisation and just making music in the moment. And that just led me to listen to Sarah Vaughan, Dana Washington, Kurt Elling, also some other instrumental, amazing jazz musicians, Miles David, just to note one person. Yeah. And that led me to studying in college music. I studied in Israel for like 3 years, and then I completed my studies in Dublin, Ireland. And what the beautiful thing about that school is that it had more than 50% international students. And just by hanging out with people from all over the world, learning their traditions, learning their rhythmic styles, harmonies, grooves, food, recipes, languages, that just made me more and more curious. And I think also since before, just by living in Israel, because Israel is somewhat of a melting pot of people who have immigrated from all over the world, moving to this school that was also international, I feel that this bit has always drew me into making the music that I make, which is the love of jazz, of the improvisation of, I mean, jazz for me, it's not the swing-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling, which is also part of it, but more of in a philosophical way, I feel that jazz is just taking whatever it is that you have and trying to push its own boundaries. So how we can push our own boundaries, how can I develop and push my own boundaries and develop more and more as a musician and vocalist as I am. And there wasn't really a moment where I said, today I want to be a professional musician. I think that just happened naturally with the course of my life.
And so, Sivan, we're about to have the special privilege of watching a music video. We don't get that very often, unfortunately. So we're so glad that you're sharing this music video with us. Tell us about Black Feet.
Black Feet. Black Feet is an invitation for all of us, especially grown-ups, to just connect to our inner child. Because I feel that when we go about our day-to-day and the more we grow up, we get to focus on our to-do lists and taxes and things that are very serious. And even though we need to do these things, I think it's really nice to connect to our inner child and approach things with humor and lightness and playfulness. So this is an invitation to say, like, hello, inner child, like, come play with us. And just a note about the music video, the video is recorded in the actual recording of our album. So that's actually us playing in the record.
Here we go, Black Feet. So tell us about this, the idea behind this album. We could sense that that lightness you're talking about, not about scat singing, it's about this something more than that. Tell us about the idea behind oneness.
The idea behind oneness has a lot of different philosophical aspects to it. Blackfeet is just one, but I feel that the general idea of oneness is how can we as individual dig deeper a bit within ourselves to be better, to become better people, and by that hopefully this will ripple, you know, in that to our surroundings, to the people around us, to our families around us, to the communities around us, and just by that creating or hoping to create just a little bit of a better world, if we can dream to those dimensions.
Okay, and tell us a little bit about these musicians we saw. So you said you're in New York City and Brooklyn. You've got some of the best jazz musicians in the world. Tell us, how did you pick out this band? What do you look for in a musician?
So this album actually celebrates 10 years in New York this month. No, last month. We're already in December. Anyway, I've been in New York for 10 years, and I had the privilege of just by being here and meeting so many amazing musicians to bring together Nick Hetko, who you saw on piano, Sam Weber on bass, and Evan Hyde on drums. So we've been playing together since 2016. We've been playing around the city, around the US. Unfortunately, some gigs in Europe didn't allow us to travel all together, but the music did showcase in Europe. I just played in Vienna actually last year, so that was nice. But yeah, just by playing together a lot, we've been really cultivating the sound of the Sivan Arbel group, that we can call. And when it was finally time to make a record, it was not just to share the music, but to share the music with my band, my New York City band. And we do have a special guest, or two special guests on this album: Trip Dudley, who you saw on percussion, and Jay Gandhi, who you will see in the next piece, and we can talk about him now or later. But
Tell us about Dreamland. Tell us, we're going to see another music video. Tell us about this and this influence. We're getting this distinctly Eastern meditative vibe from this album. Tell us about that.
Right. So, as I mentioned, I really love immersing myself in styles and genres and music, rhythms, harmony, however you want to call it, from all over the world. And in COVID, I dived really, really deep into studying classical Indian singing. And that led me to just meeting amazing classical Indian musicians in New York City. One of them is Jay Gandhi, who is actually my neighbor as well. So we just got to hang out a lot and share a lot of, basically he shared with me a lot of the classical Indian traditions, which I still feel very, very, like a beginner, but that has created a big influence on the sound of this album, and he is featured in Dreamland. I'm just fascinated by dreams, so had to write a song about that.
Let's take a look. Here it is, Dreamland.
Swim alone. Sometimes a friend joins me. I've heard it said that water represents the soul, and every changing object has a meaning of its own. But what does it mean when I dream of nothing?
So, Sivan, tell us about this community aspect of your work. You said eating different recipes, sharing, meeting intercultural people. It was 50%, as I said, international students in Dublin. Tell us about this teamwork, what that means. I mean, in also in your liner notes, you talk about living in an apartment with your four best friends, how special that is. Tell us about the importance of relationships to you in your music.
Wow, I mean, without people, who are we? You know? Also, just a side note, like the music videos, they just get cut up so abruptly. You can see the full video on YouTube, yeah, or on my website, which I'm sure we'll mention that again later. Um, I mean, people and everything that we encounter in life, I feel it's just like a mirror to us. And for me, my friends, my family, my musicians is just a mirror and a person that helps me grow, that helps me become just better in everything that I do. And every person really um, shows a different side of growth, or gives me a different side of growth if I want them in my life, right? So um, I can be more specific about my musicians because we played for so many years together. We had the opportunity to go to a residency in Avalach Music Farm in New Hampshire. And when we went there, it was with the intention of working on the music for the album, but the difference with this album, rather than the previous albums, is that when I did create my two previous albums, which is Broken Lines and Change of Light, I came super prepared and I knew where every single note needs to be and every dynamic and every change of the chord and da 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 da. Like I knew where all the details will be, and I felt that in the process of building the music arrangements and yeah, just working on this music, I came more raw and more open to this process. I brought the songs not 100% done, or I had a few questions with myself about the arrangement. So being in this residency in this beautiful farm in New Hampshire with my band and just bringing this raw material and say, hey guys, like let's work on this together. So that was, since 2016, we really built this trust that we cultivated amongst ourselves, leading to making a record together and really working on this music together.
Sivan, now, before we get to our next song, you seem like an incredibly agreeable person. What happens with your musicians when you have a disagreement and they say, it needs to go faster, it needs to do that? How do you deal with that?
These are my friends, but in order to get things done, sometimes you just need to say, yo, guys, like we need to move forward and to be a band leader, and sometimes, to take charge. If there's a disagreement, I feel generally in life, like if it's friendships and, any kind of relationship, it's not good to put the disagreements and the more, iffy parts underneath the carpet, because I've learned that it just gives me a stomach ache. I don't want to do that.
Okay, so whenever you
It's
say, yo,
unpleasant.
guys, we know, okay, we've got to listen to Sivan. Something's important.
Yeah, you got to talk about things, and I don't know what's the next song that we're gonna play?
This is Second Floor Beloved. So about
Okay.
a man who is apparently separated from those with whom he might agree or disagree. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So we will listen in the end to Yin Yang, which really talks about embracing the darkness and the light that life gives you. So just putting that out there with, what we just talked about. And about Second Floor Beloved, as we said, that relationships are a very important part of our lives. And I do have a very close friend back in Israel who every time when I go to Israel, we just have writing sessions. And I don't think he's tuning in right now, but I'm just going to give a big shout out to Shachar Cohen. That's his name. And since 2010, when I just started college, I believe, we met very randomly. And since we met, we've been just writing a lot together. So he gives me really awesome writing assignments, and one of them led to this story of a homeless man in the boardwalk in Tel Aviv. And the song doesn't talk about how poor he is or how, you know, unfortunate his life is, but rather than seeing his humanity, and he's, regardless to his conditions, he still has someone that he loves and thinks about, who lives on the second floor. I don't know why, but that just came about. And yeah, just to know that everyone has a mom, everyone has a loved one, everyone, you know, is a human being. And this is the only song on the record that is sung in Hebrew.
Let's have a listen. Here's Second Floor Beloved. So this brings us to the philosophical portion of our conversation that I know everyone looks forward to every week. And the title is Embracing the World, ? Sivan, in the liner notes to Oneness, you write, quote, "Oneness is a celebration of peace, love, and unity, inviting us to embrace our uniqueness and our differences. The album was born after a long journey to deepen my relationship with the world around me. During the past few years, I've witnessed the troubling and growing challenges in our society, resulting in dangerous separation and division. I felt how rules, borders, and ego take the front line rather than recognizing the people who are in front of us. Through the vibrant musical traditions of my community, I created Oneness as a call to come together, honor one another, and look beyond our borders, colors, gender, and religion." So, Sivan, we have, in the past years, pretty much seen the complete opposite things happen after all of this. We believed that the world had been coming closer together. This COVID pandemic hit, and the first thing people did was close their borders, even in the European Union and all these countries. And we had the invasion of Russian military invasion of Ukraine, and then of course all of the horrific attacks happening in October in Israel and the subsequent invasion of Gaza, etc. Why make this album now? Why be a musician, this jazz singer now at this time when it seems that Oneness is really living in a bubble, that you're calling people, don't pay attention to the world around you, think like a child, when many others would say it's time to grow up?
Let's take a deep breath. No, not ignore the world around us. Quite the opposite. Embrace what we see and how can we be better? How can we balance the energy that the world is just like the world just going bananas, basically. Like for the past few years, not to mention fires breaking in different places in the world. Like it's not just the people. It's like, you know, global warming is telling us like, yo, what's happening? And how can we not make music and bring this into this, bring light into the darkness, right? We got into the studio, I think, I don't have the exact date, but let's say not long after October 7th. It was still October when we got into the studio. And, you know, people who are very dear to me spent, you know, they were in Gaza for 4 months during this time. And I had to ask myself, like, do we do this right now? Like, are we able to? And the interesting thing, and which of course we did, and I decided that it is very important. But the interesting thing about the songs in Oneness is that they happened before all those wars broke. I wrote a lot of the material during the pandemic, and it's really interesting to see how relevant some songs are. You know, they're been written in a certain time, and then they become even more relevant in the future or in a different time. And we all know that if we go through hardship in life and my boyfriend broke up with me, and you go into the car and you hear a song from the 70s which still like resonates with you, right? Like these topics are timeless. And I think that it's somewhat magically, coincidentally happens that they need to be released now, because the world needs it, not in order to say ignore everything that's happening, but let's wake up. Like let's connect to ourselves, because social media separates us a lot, and people, you know, they have the feeling that they can bark into the world and not really looking for meaningful interactions and dialogues. But you know, this source of expression on all those social media platforms, like it doesn't help. Like I found that it's very separating. So if a record can just give you an hour of self-reflection, that would be nice.
And as you said about the computer screens and all that, and the social media doesn't necessarily mean that people are together. It can also be a separating thing. So would you recommend then people listening to the album Oneness over a meal? Or what is it? How do you imagine? How should we be listening? What are the ideal circumstances?
Put everything that you're doing aside and listen only to me. I mean, listen to it, you know, however the music touches the heart and however you want to play it. In today's world, you know, the industry people look at how much people listen to you on Spotify and all this and that. So if you can just play the record on loops when you go to sleep, you know, that would be very helpful. There is no manual, right? Like people listen to certain songs, certain things when they want, when they need, to a certain setting. So it's there for you.
So here we're listening to our final song of the evening, and it is Yin Yang.
Trying to see the bigger picture in blind moments. Oh, trying to be kind to myself in all times. Thank
Final thoughts. Sivan, what do you wish all of us take away from this album? You said it's there for you when you need it. When you're not feeling all good, you're feeling good. When you're in a dark time, you're in a light time. What do you wish all of us take away from this album? Even the man thinking about his beloved on the second floor.
First of all, I want to give a big shout out to the musicians who you just heard Evan Hyde crushing it on the drums. And in the previous song, we heard Nick Hedko play so beautifully on the piano. And of course, we have Sam Weber on the bass. So just a side note that I wanted to share. The minute the music is out, it's just there for your personal interpretation. As I said, there is no manual. There is no way to listen to the song. I think in general, music is there for shift, to transport you somewhere else, or to be a remedy for whatever it is that someone needs in that very moment. So sorry, I cannot be a bit more specific, but it's not up to me.
Okay, let's see how we can stay in touch with you. So we have your website here. It is easy enough to get there. It is sivanarbel.com, and we can buy the album here under media, is that right?
Under the shop.
Under the shop. Oh, I see
But
that.
you can go to all the, here's Oneness and the previous albums. And for those of you who don't know, I do make my own amazing granola. So you can get that on my shop. I guarantee it's not too sweet.
Okay, and we can, so I will put that in the chat room. Again, that's sivanarbel.com. And people can reach out to you if they have any questions or they.
Yeah, you see there's a contact, there are,
Perfect. So feel free to
going
reach
through
out.
it.
Feel free to reach out to Sivan under contact us. She's ready to answer your questions, hear your comments. And there's also the upcoming release party, which is going to be on December 18th in New York City. And that is under dice.fm. And it's called Sivan Arbel Oneness Album Release Party. So I'll put both of these in the chat room.
That would be great. If you are getting a bit confused with the DICE thing, you can just go to my tour dates and the information will be there as well.
Perfect.
On my website.
So there it is, again, under sivanarbel.com, under
Right,
tour.
amongst other upcoming shows, but yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so very much to Sivan Arbel.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for everyone who tuned in. Please stay in touch. Get a vinyl, get a CD, get them out of my apartment. And I hope to see you at New Blue in New York City, or send a friend who's there.
Okay. So let's just take a look quickly at the Vienna Live website at simeonmoro.com. You can always get up to date about the upcoming shows, and you can sign up for the lovely email I send out every Friday to give people insight into the upcoming shows and my thoughts. So that's simeonmoro.com. Once again, thank you so very much to Sivan Arbel. Thank you to our sponsors. There it is. To Vienna Live sponsors, Victoria and Frederick Mulligan. Thank you to Abby Moser, Agnieszka and Benoit Rivolet, and Mary Schlesinger for their support of this show. Thanks to my cousin Mike, a marketer from Layer App. If you're an architect or an engineer, they have a really cool tool you should check out. Thanks most of all to you, our participants, who make it all worthwhile from New York City, New York, and Washington, D.C. Goodbye, and see you next Wednesday.